I think we're incredibly lucky to get Adrian.
Science may provide the answers the families are looking for, and the work of this man, neuroscientist Professor Adrian Owen.
I first came across Adrian's research when he used a brain scanner to detect awareness in a patient who was really incapable of responding in any way and seemed to be in a vegetative state. And this is really a landmark discovery. It's got huge implications, legal implications, implications for clinical care, for medical ethics, and so on and so forth. So, Adrian, let's start off with a very easy question. What is consciousness?
Oh, yes. I thought you were going to throw me a softball to start with, Roger. Right. Well, consciousness is very interesting because...
Professor Owen is a neuroscientist who specialises in searching for consciousness in patients on the edge of awareness. His research, published in leading medical journals, has seen him dubbed the mind reader through the use of fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging.
fMRI is a technique that we use for looking at brain function. We've been using it to explore whether any patients who behaviourally appear to be vegetative or minimally conscious can actually do more with their brains. Is it possible that they can activate parts of their brains in a way that would allow us to conclude that they've got some residual functions that are not apparent from clinical examination alone?
Michael will be given simple instructions to see if he can respond with his mind.
So we're going to ask him to think of certain things, and we're going to see whether we can pick up the brain activity that's associated with him thinking those things.
Okay, you're doing ever so well.
One of the interesting things about the brain is if you imagine doing some things, the areas that will be activated are the very same areas that would be activated if you were to actually do those things. And we'll ask him to imagine playing a game of tennis. And the reason we do this is not because we want to know whether he can play tennis, but when people imagine playing tennis, it always activates an area called the premotor cortex right here, in which case we'll be able to detect that in his brain and we'll know that he is making a response. It's not a response with his body, but it's a response with his brain.
Well done, you're doing really well there.
So we're just doing a couple of quick structural scans just to make sure we have Michael in the correct position.
Okay, Michael, we're going to start the scan now. And we want you to try and imagine something for us. You're going to hear just two words. You'll either hear the word tennis or you'll hear the word relax. When you hear the word tennis, what I want you to do is to really imagine that you're playing a game of tennis. Just keep imagining playing tennis and do that until you hear the word relax. And then what I want you to do is to just rest. And we'll do that a few times backwards and forwards between imagining playing tennis and then relaxing.
Off we go then, guys.
Tennis.
So the areas that are in red.
The scanner can pinpoint the areas of the brain that are working hardest while someone is thinking. These receive more oxygen-rich blood, which show up as red blobs on the screen.
So it's the areas in red that we're really interested in.
Initially, Michael's scan looks promising.
But as you can see, it's actually very variable. It's now gone.
Relax.
Michael's brain activity must follow the pattern of commands for the team to conclude that he is responding. Otherwise, it could be chance.
Absolutely brilliant. Hi, Prof.
His parents will get the results later.
You okay? Hello, darling. Well done.
The use of brain scans to search for awareness has sparked international interest, such as in Canada and the city of London, Ontario. This is Scott.
Do you think Daddy should drive the van today?
For over a decade, every medical assessment has concluded he is vegetative. But his parents, Jim and Anne, are convinced Scott can respond.
You give us a thumbs up, Scott? You want Dad to drive? Hmm?
What do you think? You're not going to make a decision.
You want to give us a thumbs up?
Or maybe you're saying no. You don't want Mom in your face. I think he's shutting us out. You just don't want to respond right now, do you? He was crossing an intersection and he got hit by a police car and just T-boned him, sent him spinning down the street. And just...
It's catastrophic.
It's catastrophic, yeah. They really gave us no hope whatsoever. They gave him 2 years to live, and that's 12 and a half years ago. At the hospital, most of the staff go with the party story that he's vegetative.
Do you think Scott can understand what you're saying to him?
Oh, yes. Yeah. He does, and he responds. He uses his eyes. He uses his thumbs for yes or no.
Hi, Scott. It's Dr. Young, Brian Young here to see you again. Could you try just lifting your thumb for me to command? Just lift your thumb up.
But you've been his doctor for 10 years.
Yes. I've seen him repeatedly, and I've never seen any evidence of responsiveness in Scott.
Do you think that perhaps it's either that he'll do it for his family, or perhaps it's wishful thinking on their part?
Yes, it's hard to say. It could be that it's inconsistent, that he sometimes does respond in a meaningful way to them, but one has to go with one's own observations, and I think there is the opportunity for wishful thinking.
Scott is on his way to the University of Western Ontario. He'll meet Professor Owen, who's now based in Canada.
Scott, right, this is your big chance. We really want you to try as hard as you can to imagine playing tennis for us. Okay, we're going to ask you to imagine playing tennis quite a few times while you're in the scanner. And if you can do that, then we'll be able to see your brain activating. So I want you to imagine you're standing on a tennis court and moving your arm around as much as you can. All right, so we're going to put you in the scanner now. Just do your best. Stay awake.
This is a big challenge for brain-injured patients. It requires hearing, recall, understanding, a functioning mind.
Okay, Scott, it's Adrian speaking, and we're ready to start the first scan. This is where I want you to imagine that you're playing tennis.
Tennis.
Okay, we've got a little bit of activity there. Okay, yeah, we've got something. Okay, this is what we want. Here. Okay, so we've definitely got more activity than we had previously.
Something remarkable is happening. Confounding more than a decade of medical assessments, Scott is responding in the scanner.
On tennis, yeah. That's looking pretty good, actually.
That's quite striking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scott's been in the scanner more than an hour and needs a rest. But the team feel his responses clearly suggest awareness.
Oh, hey! How you doing? Did you do good in there? I heard you did really well. Now, Dr. Owens would like you to come back tomorrow because he said you're doing so well that he would like to try a few more things tomorrow. Do you think you'd be up to it? You're trying to give us a thumbs up? Yeah. There, we got a nice big thumbs up. Okay, he's willing to try again tomorrow.
Okay, Stephen, I'm going to let you listen to some of your book, Pillars of the Earth, okay?
Life can change utterly in a moment. All the families in this film know that.
Okay.
This is Stephen. He was driving to work when his van came off the road in ice and hit a telegraph pole.
You going to turn your head around? Thank you.
The clustered shafts of the piers rose gracefully through the gallery and became the ribs of the vault, curving over to meet in the middle of the ceiling. And the tall
Stephen was very easy as a kid. No problems with him. I mean, he wasn't a pushover, don't get me wrong. I mean, he had his own mind. But Stephen was the type of person, if you really had a real blowout with him, 5 minutes later, hi Mum, can you get, you know, he was that type of person. He wouldn't
come around.
He wouldn't be holding back for days and not speaking. He'd just come around just like that. He was pretty active into different kind of sports. He had lots and lots of friends. He liked his family, very family oriented.
But Stephen cannot communicate what memories he has of weddings, family celebrations, life before his accident, or whether he knows who or where he is.
The doctor who was on at the time took us aside and said, we kind of expect Stephen to come around in between 12 and 16 hours. And he actually stayed in the coma for 3.5 months.
And then at some point he did open his eyes.
Right.
But he didn't wake up in the sense that we would understand that.
That's right, yeah.
Sorry, Stephen, this is a bit different from the usual.
In the search for answers, Stephen's parents, originally from Glasgow, have brought him to Professor Owen.
What are you hoping to learn here?
We've always felt that Stephen is in there, right? And we've used different techniques about trying to get him to answer for a yes or a no, and it might be 2 blinks of the eye for a yes, the raising of his hand for a yes. And definitely at times he can do that, but it's not consistent. So even ourselves, we're always left with, was he just blinking his eye right now, or was that just a natural movement, or did he definitely say yes?
John and Dan have been hoping for this day for more than a year.
When you hear the word tennis, what we want you to do is to imagine that you're playing a game of tennis. Now, I don't need you to run around the court, you can stand still.
Tennis.
Yeah, that is really, really cool.
Just like Scott, Stephen's brain activity is matching the commands he's been given in the scanner.
And we're seeing this activity right at the top of his brain, and those are in the motor regions. Those are the areas of your brain that, if you were able to play tennis, those are the areas of your brain you'd use to produce those types of movements. So that's very exciting. That was really exciting.
This is strong evidence of awareness, but can he do more?
The question is what we do next. We can try a question.
We can try a question.
Yeah, so I was wondering if there's something that might be relevant to him, something that...
The team plan a series of personal questions only the family could answer. But there's a problem.
So he's moved again, but we're still acquiring data.
He's moving in the scanner, so the team cannot interpret the results. Stephen's sense of identity is still unclear.
Part of me wanted to say, do you know who you are? That type of thing, because that's so important to us, right? To know that he is aware of who he is. It would be nice to know how he's feeling. We want to, if he's fearful, try not to be fearful, because we're always here for him.